Hello, sports fans. This is Anthony with BBSN, and we are back tonight for a matchup between the Satchel Paige traveling all-star team, the Ebony Elites, featuring Hall of Fame ball players that played the majority or all of their careers in the Negro Leagues. And this is a Barnstorming tour in which they take on 5 other teams of Hall of Fame all-stars. And in this one, they are playing the Cooperstown Misfits, and this team basically consists of a group of Hall of Famers that did not make any of the other 4 All-Star teams. And this is game 4 of this series, and each series will be 5 games, and the Satchel Paige Ebony Elites lead this one 2-1, so they can clinch the series win tonight. They'll play 5 games regardless, but they would enjoy nothing more than to wrap this up and get the advantage. So we are ready for the first pitch. And your starting lineups. For the Ebony Elites, leading off in right field, the fastest man in the room, Cool Papa Bell. The nifty Willie Wells at shortstop. Oscar Charleston back in center field tonight. He was a designated hitter in the last game. Josh Gibson will be behind the plate and hit fourth. Judd Wilson in left field. Deacon White, who had a great game last time out, remains at the hot corner tonight. And Biz Mackey, the backup catcher to Josh Gibson, but you're not going to take Gibson's bat out of the lineup too often, so Mackey gets the start at designated hitter tonight. Mule settles back in at first base, and Ray Dandridge makes an appearance at second base in place of Pop Lloyd for this one. And on the mound for the Elites, Big Bill Foster, who brings a powerful fastball and a tricky curveball into this matchup. And he will be facing a lineup that consists of Tris Speaker in center field leading off, Charlie Gehringer at second base batting second, Bucketfoot Al Simmons bats third, he'll be in left, Hank Greenberg will be at first base, hit cleanup, and the Mickey Mantle back in the lineup tonight as designated hitter. Mel Ott is back in right field for the Misfits. Roy Campanella behind the plate, and he has a stronger arm than Hartnett. And in the last game, the Elites ran wild for the most part on Hartnett, so Campanella hoping to clamp that down. George Kell is at the hot corner, and old aches and pains, Luke Appling will be at short. And on the mound tonight, Greg Maddux, and Maddux, a not overpowering but very precise pitcher, and since his retirement from the game, he has done a number of things, including punking Chris Bryant, where he pretended to be a film crew for a documentary they were doing on Bryant taking batting practice, and the batting practice pitcher pretended to have a emergency to go take care of. Maddux stepped in, and of course he was in disguise, and proceeded to throw Bryant some curveballs and generally give him a hard time. So that's on YouTube. Check it out. Little fun fact before we start here, and with that, let's roll. So the Elites will open up against Maddux, and stepping up is Cool Papa Bell. And Bell looking to set the table here, and against the right-hander, that is going to be a ballpark single chance. And again, we are playing in Fenway. And Fenway, very hitter-friendly when it comes to singles. And Bell is on, and we're going to see if he's going to try and go. He had a couple of steals the last game. Rolls a 4, so he's got his lead. And the adjustment with Campanella is actually only a -1 because Maddux is horrible at holding base runners. So Bell, 1-16, he's in there, and Campy comes up throwing, can't get him, so right away, runner in scoring position, and up comes Willie Wells, not on the 1D20. And Wells against the right-hander, that's going to be a ground ball back to the pitcher. And Bell is going to be forced to hold at second base, so 1 down. Next up is Oscar Charleston, probably one of the better all-around ball players in the history of the game. And Maddux against the left-hander. And that's going to be a strikeout. So Maddux has the junk going there and pinpoint control. And he nips one over the corner, catches Charleston looking. And that brings up big Josh Gibson. And Maddux was so scared, he threw the 1-20 right out of the box. And 5 and a 5, and Maddux comes back against the right-hander and gets another strikeout. So Maddux gives up the leadoff single and strikes out 2 of the last 3 he faced in the inning. Heading to the bottom of the first, Elites 0 and Misfits coming to bat. Big Bill Foster on the mound gets set to face the Gray Eagle, Tris Speaker. And against the left-hander, that's going to be a split chance, high single chance, and Speaker gets on to start the game for the Misfits. And the adjustment for Josh Gibson and Bill Foster will be a -3, which puts Speaker at a 14 to steal. He's going to try and get a lead, and 10, he cannot do that, and he's not going to run with a 1 to 10 chance. Brings up Charlie Gehringer. And Gehringer, the left-handed hitting second baseman. And this is a lefty-lefty matchup, and he grounds it back to the pitcher. That's going to be a fielder's choice. So 1-4, Speaker goes down, and Gehringer on at first base. And Gehringer wants no part of testing the arm of Josh Gibson. That leaves Al Simmons to do the dirty work here. And here comes a pitch from Big Bill Foster against the right-hander. That's going to be a ground ball down to shortstop. I'm sorry, yep, ground ball down to shortstop, and that's going to be 2. So 6-4-3 on that. Wells to Dandridge and whips it over to Mule Suttles. And the Misfits get a hit, but they too cannot cash in on that. And we head to the top of the second inning, 0-0 here. Greg Maddux set to face Judd Wilson. And Wilson, 3 and a 9 against the right-hander, and that's going to be a skinny split single chance. And nice play at second base by Gehringer. He hit that hard, but Gehringer reaches up and snags it. So L4, 1 down. And Deacon White had 3 hits in yesterday's game. And White against Maddux, and that is going to be another split chance single. And this one Gehringer can't get to, and that is lined into center field. So White continues his hot hitting ways, and he is a 1 to 18 to steal, which the adjustment 1 to 17. So he's going to try and get his lead. It has to be a 7 though, and look at that. White, friendly with the baseball gods, and he steals that easily against Campanella. So 2 stolen bases already, and the Elites continue to run wild on the pitching and catching batteries of the Misfits here. Biz Mackey up, runner in scoring position, 1 down. And Mackey, he's going to get a hold of that one, and that is cranked. And that's going to drop in for a single. Runner advance 2, a hard hit ball into the gap in left center. White comes around to score, and Mackey, in his first plate appearance of the campaign, comes through with the RBI single. He says Josh Gibson isn't the only catcher on this team that can hit, as Mule Suttles steps up to the plate. And 4-2 for Maddux against the right-hander, and that's going to be a ground ball down to first base. And it's going to be a 1-6 put out there as Mackey is retired at second. And Suttles now on the fielder's choice, so 2 away. Suttles on at first base, and Suttles not going to try and steal here with Dandridge up. And Dandridge, that's going to be a ground ball down to shortstop. Appling up with it over to first. And that's going to end the inning. So the Elites pick up a run on a couple of hits, leave 1, and we are heading to the bottom of the second inning. Your score 1-0. Elites over the Cooperstown Misfits, and Hank Greenberg set to lead it off. And Greenberg against the lefty. That's going to be a fly ball to right field. And out there under that is Cool Papa Bell. He runs that down easily. You are not going to hit too many balls that Bell cannot get to or track down in right field there as Mickey Mantle comes up. And 2 and an 8 against the left-hander, and Mantle goes down swinging as Foster blows some high heat by him. Mantle heads back to the dugout muttering him to himself. And hopefully Mick did not engage in his favorite pregame ritual of partying the night before. He's going to need to be on his game in this one as Melott steps in. And that's going to be a single right back up the middle. So the Misfits have their first hit of the afternoon. And it brings up catcher Roy Campanella and Campy. That was a 12 on the 1-die-20. Campy against the left-hander, and that's going to be a foul out to catcher. Gibson tosses a mask aside, retrieves the fly ball, and a hit. No runs, no errors, and we are through 2. It's 1-0 Elites. And back to the top of the order, Maddux facing Cool Papa Bell. And Bell, Maddux, it'll be a roll against the left-hander, and that's going to be a ground ball down to second base. So at second, Geringer is an 11. And a 1 and 11, so he gets to that. And 11 with an 11. And makes the play, 1 down. So a nice play to retire the Speedy Bell there. And Willie Wells steps in. And Wells against the right-hander, and that's going to be a single. He loops that into left field, so Wells rounds it back, heads back. And he's going to see if he can get a little jump here. It'll be 1-14 to steal, but they are 2 for 2 stealing. And he gets the jump. 14 or less, and he's in their third stolen base of the afternoon for the Elites. They are averaging 1 an inning. And runner in scoring position, 1 down for Oscar Charleston. And Charleston against Maddux, and he cannot catch up with a changeup, or maybe he swung out in front of that. It's the second time he's been sent down. So Charleston was looking a little too hot for Maddux, and Maddux decided to fan him, cool him down. He's done it twice now. Runner on second base, 2 down. Josh Gibson trying to make something happen here. And that is going to be a potential single. 1-6, and no, that's a nice play out there by the third baseman, George Kell. So another hit for the Elites, but they cannot score this inning, and we're heading to the bottom of the third. It's still 1-0. And bottom of the order for the Misfits against Big Bill Foster, and that means George Kell. He made a fine play on Josh Gibson, leads it off. And Foster, 6 and an 8 against the right-hander. That's going to be a ground ball down to shortstop, and up with that is Willie Wells. Flips it over to first, 1 down. And Luke Appling, old aches and pains, steps in, famous for often being hurt but not injured, as we say in the football world. And against the left-hander, Appling pops that up in the air, straight up, and shortstop Willie Wells is under that. So he has made both plays to start the third inning, 2 down. And top of the order for Chris Speaker. And here comes a pitch against the left-hander. 5 and a 10 lefty-lefty matchup. That's going to be a ground ball down to third base. And down there, Deacon White is a 3. And he's not going to get to that. So that is going to be a single. And on the error check, 19 and a 6. So that will go down as a single for Speaker in his second hit of the ball game. And Speaker, he's going to try and make something happen here. It's a 1-14 to steal successfully. And 7, and Speaker can't get the jump, so he will remain glued to first base, and Charlie Gehringer comes up. And 6 and a 7 against the left-hander, and that is a split chance single. And that was a 3, so single, runners advance 1. Runners on first and second now, as back-to-back 2-out singles for the Misfits. And they are in business as Al Simmons steps up, and Simmons, a high average, high power hitter, digs into the box. Here comes a pitch, and he gets around on that, and that's going to be a fly ball to left field, but will be caught well short of the warning track even. And that ends the inning, so a couple of hits. But the Misfits cannot push a run across, and we're a third of the way through this. The score remains 1-0 Elites. And heading to the fourth inning, Judd Wilson now steps in against Greg Maddux for the second time. And Wilson, he lined out to second baseman Gehringer his first time up. And here comes a pitch, and that's a ground ball down to short. And at shortstop, Appling, 2 and a 26. He's going to get to that. A 26 in a roll of 13. And Appling makes the play, 1 down. And Deacon White steps in. And Deacon White has been on a hitting tear in his first 2 starts here. And against the left-hander, Maddux. Not this time. Maddux swing and a miss, ring him up, and White heads back to the dugout. That's Maddox's 3rd strikeout of the game. So Biz Mackey steps in now, and Mackey singled and drove in the runs, or the game's only run so far. And against the right-hander, Mackey takes a big cut and holds up. It's going to be ball 4, and down to first base he trots. Maddox's first walk of the ball game. And Mackey's not going to try and steal here with 2 outs, and Mule settles up. And Suttles, he's going to hit that into center field, and that is deep, but not deep enough. As settling under that is a Gray Eagle, and he puts it away. So no runs, no hits, no errors, 1 man left, and we head to the bottom of the 4th inning. 1-0 Elites is our score. As Hank Greenberg steps in against Big Bill Foster, and he flew out to right field his first time up. I don't know why I did that. And against the left-hander, and Greenberg gets a hold of that. That's going to be a ballpark home run against the right-handed batter, though. That's a 1-9. So a big cut, and that is deep, 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 and not deep enough at the track with his back against the wall. Judd Wilson makes the catch, and that will be absolutely nothing but a loud out. So Greenberg puts a charge into the fans, but in the end has not a thing to show for it, and that brings up Mickey Mantle. And the Mick steps in, and this will be a righty-lefty matchup. Mantle, the switch hitter. And 6 and a 5, and that's a potential split chance home run. Mantle, a big cut, and that ball into right field, and that's going to go to the track and die there as Bell puts that away. So 2 big loud outs, and Foster is still unscathed on the scoreboard as Mel Ott steps in. And Mel Ott, the original toy cannon, is going to work Foster for a, not a walk, I'm sorry. He's going to work Foster for a potential single. Ott swings, and nope, that's a hard line drive to second base, and that's speared by Dandridge. So 3 up, 3 down, and that is our first inning of that nature in the entire ball game. So we head to the top of the 5th, still 1-0. And pitcher's duel is materializing here, and that's kind of been unusual for both of these teams. So they're both scoring about 7 runs a contest in this series. So Maddux to face Dandridge now, and that's going to be a ground ball down to third base, and Kell up with that over to first, 1 down. Back to the top of the order, Cool Papa Bell steps in for the third time. And Bell measures Maddux. Here comes the pitch, and that's going to be a ground ball down to first base and handled easily by Greenberg. He takes it himself, 2 down. Next up, Willie Wells, shortstop. And Wells, the right-hander, he's going to swing and miss. And again, Maddux pulls a string, and Wells looks foolish. 3 up, 3 down, and that's Maddux's first trifecta as we head to the bottom of the 5th inning. This one's cruising along, still 1-0 Elites. And Roy Campanella. Campy steps in against Big Bill Foster and takes a healthy whack at that. And that's going to be driven down third base, and a nice play there by Mr. Deacon White. So L5, a lot of hard hit balls by the Misfits, but either right at somebody or just under them a tick. A lot dying right at the track, and Cal steps in now. And against the right-hander, 4-4, that's going to be a potential single. And again, 1-19 in Fenway, and it will be a single as Kell is on board. And Kell runs fairly decent for a third sacker, but with Gibson behind the plate, they are not going to test that arm. As Luke Appling steps in now. And against the left-hander, that is going to be a potential double. So Appling looking to make something happen here, and no, that will be a single. Runner advances 2. So runners at the corner now with 1 down. And back to the top of the order, and Tris Speaker, who is 2 for 2 in this game against Big Bill Foster. And Foster flirting with trouble here. And Speaker 5 and a 6 against the lefty, and Foster comes up huge with the strikeout. Gets it in on Speaker's hands, and he can't catch up with that. So 2 down, runners at the corner, and Charlie Gehringer up. And again, another lefty-lefty matchup, and Gehringer, the pitch. And takes a cut at that, and that is going to be a potential ballpark single. And you know when that happens, 1-19, it usually always is. And again, just squeezes it in there. So coming in to score is George Kell. And the RBI, and Appling, he will be a 16 with the adjustment. And that's going to be into center field. And in center field, Charleston has an arm of -1. So 1-15 to go to third. And Appling is going to try it, and he is gunned down. So Charleston comes up firing, and Appling makes the final out of the inning at third base. The Cardinals sin there, 8-5 on the putout. But 3 hits for the Misfits, and they're able to knot this one up after 5. We head to the 6th inning, all tied up at 1. And Greg Maddux facing Oscar Charleston here. And the pitch to Charleston, and Charleston gets around on that, and that is a potential ballpark home run. And the left-handers, though, it has to be a roll of 1. And he gave it a good ride, but it's going to fall short. So fly out to right field, 1 down for Charleston. Josh Gibson said, give me one of those sweet pitches down the middle. And 6 and a 7 against the right-hander, and that's going to be a strikeout. So Maddux, he's got the K pitch working. And that is his 5th strikeout of the game. So he is taming this potent Elites lineup for the most part as Judd Wilson steps in, and Wilson, Maddux is not going to tame him, and this ball is hit deep to left field, and it is off the top of the wall. But by the time it's collected, Wilson is all the way over to third base, so the dust has cleared, and Wilson stands at third with a 2-out triple. And Maddux has to pitch careful here to Deacon White. And 5 and 8 against the lefty. That's going to be a fly ball to left field. routine put out there for Al Simmons, and that ends the threat. So a hit, no runs, no errors as the Elites leave the go-ahead run at third base, and we are heading to the bottom of the 6th inning, still knotted up at 1. And bucketfoot Al Simmons steps in to face Big Bill Foster. And here comes the pitch. And 1 and a 5, that's going to be a ground ball down to shortstop, and up with that is Wells over to first base, 1 down. And Hank Greenberg, who gave the ball a charge his last time up, but it fell short of going out of the yard. And against the left-hander, that's going to be a fly ball to center field, and under that is Charleston, puts that away comfortably, 2 away. Mickey Mantle, every bartender's favorite friend in New York City during his time there. And 6 and a 7, that's going to be against a right-hander again, as Mantle is a switch hitter. Or 6 and 6, I'm sorry, and a skinny single chance. And not going to happen. Ground ball down to first base, and a nice play down there by Mule Suttles, and he's going to flip that over to Foster covering. So 3-1 on the putout, and 3 up, 3 down in the 6th. So we have an epic pitcher's duel going here, as the hot bats in both these lineups have been cooled at least through 6 innings. As Biz Mackey steps in to face Maddux. And that's going to be a ground ball down to second base. And up with that is Gehringer. Flips it over to first, 1 away. Mule Settle steps in. And that's going to be a ground ball right back to Maddux. Maddux feels his position well. Flips that over to Greenberg, and 2 down. Dandridge steps in now. And against the right-hander, swing and a miss, Maddux, another strikeout. That's 6 for him in this ball game. So a 3 up, 3 down inning for Maddux in the top of the 7th. We head to the bottom of the 7th, and you know what that means. 7th inning stretch time, and we have a special guest star in the audience. It's Ozzy Osbourne, and he's going to sing the 7th inning stretch. Let me hear you sharing at the old ball game. Thank you very much, Boston. All right, thank you, Ozzy, for that rendition of the 7th inning stretch. Mel Ott steps in. And 4 and a 7 against Big Bill Foster, and Foster blows that right by Ott, 1 down. Ozzy Osbourne's still trying to find his seat after singing there, and Sharon's coming to help him. Roy Campanella steps up, and that's going to be a fly ball to center field in Charleston. Out there in center is a 1. So he is going to get to this, and a 1 and a 6, so a roll of 10. And 6 and a 10 in center field, and Charleston makes the play, 1 down. A nice running play, snags that drive off the bat of Campanella, and that brings up third baseman George Kell. Here comes a pitch from Foster, and Kell takes a nice healthy rip and grounds out to shortstop. Wells ranges over into the hole, backhands it, throws over to first base, and a 3 up, 3 down 7th for the Misfits. And we head to the top of the 8th, and we are still tied at 1. So staring at free baseball here as Cool Papa Bell steps in. And Bell against the right-hander, he's going to pop that up to first base. Greenberg into foul territory, puts it away, 1 down. So Maddux, he is working on a 5-hitter at this point with 6 strikeouts. Not easy against this crew. Willie Wells steps in, and the right-hander, it's going to be a ground ball down to shortstop, and Appling again is a 2. And Appling, oh, he just, that's the wrong chart, sorry. And Appling's not going to get to that. And 14 on the roll. And that is going to be a single for Wells. So the 6th hit given up by Maddux, and Wells, he's going to try and get a jump here. He needs a 2-7, does not get it, so he will stay put. As Oscar Charleston, the powerful center fielder, steps in. 1 down, runner on first base. Maddux the pitch. And Maddux against the left-hander, swing and a miss, a big strikeout. Maddux's 7th K of the ball game. And Charleston heads back to the dugout. They are having some trouble with Maddux in his vast array of speed and junk. 2 down now for Josh Gibson. He steps in. And here comes a pitch, and Gibson grounds that right back to Maddux. Maddux spears it, flips it over to Greenberg. And the 1-out single does not come back to haunt them. So we're heading to the bottom of the 8th inning now, and we are still tied up at 1. So looking at some late inning heroics here. As Big Bill Foster is set to face Luke Appling. And old aches and pains. And he's going to draw, or potentially a single there, almost said a walk. And ground ball down to first base. Suttles makes a fine play. He's going to take that one himself this time. No need for Foster to get over and cover, and 1 down for the Elites. As Tris Speaker steps in. And Speaker against the left-hander. That is going to be a ground ball down to first base. So Suttles makes his 2nd unassisted put out of the inning, 2 down. Charlie Gehringer steps in. And Gehringer hits that to second base, and up with that is Dandridge, whips it over to first. And that retires the side, and yet another 3 up, 3 down inning. That's 3 in a row. So Big Bill Foster gaining steam as the game goes on, and we're heading to the top of the 9th. And Maddux, his point of weakness was the 7th. And since that time, he's only given up a single hit, so he is good to go. So he can give up 4 more base runners before he gets in trouble. He's going to try and see this one out as Judd Wilson steps in, and that's going to be a skinny split on the single. And nice play at second base by Gehringer. He snagged a couple of hard hit shots out there. 1 down. Deacon White steps in. White waits for the pitch, and Maddux against the left-hander. That's a fly ball to center field, and that's going to be a tough play for Speaker, who is a 1, and he's going to get to that. And Speaker, 8 in a row of 12 in center field, and makes a fine running catch. So 2 down now. And free baseball is staring us right in the face as Biz Mackey steps in. And 3 and a 7, and that is going to be a base hit, potentially a double, but he'll settle for a single instead. So Mackey, 2nd single of the day and 3rd time he has been on base. And he's going to get a lead, but he's going to stay put for Suttles. And Mule, that's going to be a fly ball to left field, and that's going to end the inning. So Maddux, a somewhat uneventful 9th. And in the bullpen, for the Misfits is going to be Dizzy Dean. Dean relegated to the bullpen because of the starting staff. So we head to the bottom of the 9th inning, and Big Bill Foster has really settled down. He's gave up 4 hits in the first 3 innings, gave up a 3-hit 5th, so 7 on the day, but the last 3 innings have been perfect. Al Simmons steps in. And against the right-hander, that's going to be a ground ball down to Suttles at first base. And Mule is a 4, so he's not very spiffy with the glove. And he's not going to get to that. And on the error check, 16 and 14. And that's going to be a single for Simmons. And no action in the Elites bullpen. They're going to ride this out. And Simmons gets the lead as Hank Greenberg steps in. Greenberg waits for the pitch, and against the right-hander, that's going to be a walk, 6 and a 7. So now there's action in the bullpen, but remember, house rule, Foster has to face at least 2 before he can be relieved. So it could be too late by then as Leon Day is warming up feverishly, and the switch hitter Mickey Mantle steps in. Runners on first and second, nobody out. And looking for something clutch here from Mantle. And the switch hitter takes a big cut against the left-hander. And 2 and a 5, and I do not play with clutch ratings, guys. Sorry. It's one thing SADV I do not use. So 1 and a 5, and Simmons has a speed of 3. He's going to stay put at third base. So the infield comes in. They have to take care of that runner at the plate first. Mel Ott. Bases loaded, nobody out. Bottom of the 9th. The pitch to Ott. And 4 and 11, and that is going to be a ballpark single chance. Or actually, I'm sorry. I don't play with the hollow triangle, so never mind on that. So it's a split chance, 1 to 10. This ball game is over, folks. And 20, and that's going to be a hard line drive to second base. So Ott smokes that, but smokes it right at Ray Dandridge, who makes a nice play. In the infield, back to normal depth now, playing for the double play. And this will rest on Roy Campanella. Bases loaded, 1 out. And we have a potential drama here. And that is going to be a passed ball. And Gibson has a pass ball rating of 6. It would be a shame if the game ended on that, and does not happen. So we play on. Campanella the pitch. And against the lefty, 3 and a 9, and that is going to be a ground ball to second base, and they are not going to be able to turn 2. The base runner comes across to score from third base, Al Simmons with the winning run, so a walk-off ground ball out. So Campanella comes up huge, and this ball game is over. A walk-off single in the bottom of the 9th inning. And the Misfits have come back to tie this series at 2 games apiece. So the final game of this exhibition contest will be the rubber match. And this was a finely played game by both teams. The Elites, 1 run on 7 hits, no errors. And for the Misfits, 2 runs on 9 hits, no errors. Your winner is going to be Greg Maddux. He goes the distance, pitches a 7-hitter, and walks 1, and strikes out 7, I believe. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So Maddux, a nice day on the hill. Gives up the single earned run. And Big Bill Foster, he goes 8 1/3 innings. Gives up to 9 hits, 2 runs, both earned. And he walks 1 batter. That proved to be a somewhat costly one in the 9th. And strikes out 2, 3. And gives up no home runs. So, player of the game, got to be pretty straightforward here. It's has to be Greg Maddux. He shut down a very powerful lineup. Nobody really did anything offensively that worthy on the Misfits. So Maddux, the complete game, 7-hitter, 1 run, 1 walk, and 8 Ks. He gets player of the game. And this series is tied up at 2 games apiece, and we'll be back with the rubber game next in this series, and we'll have some fun trivia about the Elite team. Some fun facts about Josh Gibson, actually. He's going to be our spotlight player of the game for Again, dead moments or pitching changes. We'll get some facts about Gibson. So hopefully you enjoyed this. And thank you as always for watching. And again, our final score here from Fenway Park, the Cooperstown Misfits 2, Satchel Paige's Ebony Elites 3. And until next time, we'll keep rolling for the fences and hope everyone has a great night. Thanks.